Right now, a corporation just paid $80,000 for something you can't see, can't touch, 1,000 tons of air. That transaction just appeared on their books as carbon neutral. The press release is already written, and the atmosphere has absolutely no idea this happened. Neither do most of the executives who signed off on it. Today, we are going inside the carbon market, the only market in the world where the product doesn't have to work to get sold. In 2022, the voluntary carbon market, where companies buy credits on their own initiative, not because a government forces them to, traded just under $2 billion in credits. By 2023, that number collapsed to roughly 700 million. In 1 year, more than a 60% drop. The idea behind the carbon credit is simple. A factory emits 1 ton of CO2. Somewhere else, a forest is protected, or a cook stove is funded, or a machine sucks CO2 directly out of the air. A third-party auditor measures the difference, issues a credit. The factory buys it. On paper, the ledger balances. But the ledger only balances if the numbers are real. And that is where the whole system gets complicated. Every carbon credit lives or dies on 3 invisible filters. Verification. Did someone actually measure this? Permanence. Will the carbons stay removed, not just for 5 years, but forever? And additionality, the most important one. Would this have happened anyway, even without the credit? Picture a forest that governments have protected by law for decades. If a company buys a credit for protecting that forest, they did not protect anything. The forest was already safe. They bought a receipt. The protection was not additional. It was already there. This means you are not actually buying carbon removal. You are buying a counterfactual, a hypothetical version of the world where the forest burns down, compared against the real world where it does not. You are pricing a scenario that never happened. And, in any market, the price of a hypothetical is only as strong as the evidence behind it. At this point, you might think, okay, this is messy, but the market still functions. Companies pay, forests are saved, it mostly works. It does not. Because the moment you look at how these credits are actually priced, the whole thing starts to unravel in a very specific way. So why does a ton of CO2 cost $3 in one deal and over $1,000 in another? For the exact same molecule. In Europe, the EU emissions trading system, a mandatory compliance market, put an average price of around €84 per ton on carbon in 2023. Companies must buy allowances or face legal fines. The price is high because the consequence of not paying is even higher. In the voluntary market, there is no such obligation. A tech company wanting to signal climate leadership might pay $500 for a premium direct air capture credit, a machine physically pulling CO2 out of the sky. A commodity firm trying to check a compliance box might pay $4 for an aging forestry credit of questionable quality. The molecule is identical. The physical removal is completely different. And here is the uncomfortable truth this market keeps revealing. You are not paying for the carbon. You are paying for the narrative. The story that lets someone in a glass tower put carbon neutral on a press release and feel like the ledger is closed. Remember that. Because the next part of this story is about what happens when the narrative stops being believable. In early 2023, a major joint investigation by The Guardian, Die Zeit, and Source Material found that more than 90% of rainforest offset credits certified by one of the world's largest registries may have delivered little or no real climate benefit. The registry disputed the conclusions. Independent peer-reviewed research later confirmed the underlying problem. Many projects overstated their baselines, the predicted rate of deforestation that never actually happened. And the market did what markets always do. It punished the illusion. Prices for the discredited forestry credits collapsed. Meanwhile, demand for removal credits that could not burn, could not leak, could not disappear went up fivefold between 2021 and 2023. The market was not pricing carbon, it was repricing belief. But the deeper problems did not disappear. A forest is protected in one region. The logging company simply moves to an adjacent region. The emissions did not vanish, they leaked. Or a wildfire destroys 10 years of protected forest. The carbon returns to the atmosphere. The credit that was already sold does not get cancelled. This is not a story about fraud or corporate greed. It is a story about measurement. When you try to standardize nature into a financial instrument, to turn a living, burning, flooding ecosystem into a tradable asset, the math becomes almost impossibly hard. The marketing always outpaces the math. The market is learning. Buyers now demand satellite verification, permanent geological storage, carbon that cannot burn, cannot leak, cannot disappear. The price floor is rising. A tonne of CO2 removed by direct air capture costs anywhere from $300 to over $1,000 because permanence is expensive. So what does a tonne of CO2 actually cost? Whatever the market currently believes. And that belief, that is the whole game. Always has been. We are not buying clean air, we are buying time. And built underneath all of it, quietly, without anyone quite agreeing on the math, is the most dangerous sentence in modern climate policy. We priced it, so it is handled. A price tag became a benchmark became policy, and policy became the reason we stopped asking whether any of it actually worked.
If this is the kind of system you want to understand, subscribe.